For this part, it's mostly a lot of mashing, but there are 3 things to look out for. Each one of them has to do with Cloud shrugging. So there are 3 spots where you need to run and talk to somebody. First it's Sephiroth, then it's Tifa, then it's Sephiroth. You see Cloud shrug right there? That means we're about to have to talk to Sephiroth. So what I do is at this point I just start buffering up, left, and run while I'm mashing. And that buffer of up, left, and run... Well, oh, it's Tifa, then Sephiroth, then Tifa. Whoops, I said it the opposite way. But that talks to Tifa. Then, the next time Cloud shrugs, you want to run directly up into Sephiroth to talk to him. So we'll see that, you know. We just get more cutscene. This is all just mashing. But then here, Cloud shrugs. So as Cloud shrugs, I start holding up and run while I mash. And then the next station is that Cloud shrugs for the 3rd time. At which point I start buffering right and run to talk to Tifa. And there you go. That's it. And then it's all just mashing after that. There's the part where we learn that apparently Jenova can just shapeshift into more than just Sephiroth, and yet she never uses, or Sephiroth, like, never uses that ability anywhere else. Just the one time here. I mean, I guess he uses it to get Black Materia, though, so that's, like, pretty important. I mean, that's the ultimate thing he can do, is get Black Materia. Alright, so once you get to this part of the cutscene, there is a spot where you gain control of Cloud, and I will use a save state to show the difference here. So Cloud stands up, and then when the screen brightens, right here, you've got control of Cloud at this point, right? And if you don't move Cloud, he walks over, right? He just walked over. This is the tiniest little thing in the entire world. But if you walk Cloud over yourself, then boom, he spent less frames walking over. So on that part, you get some frames to control Cloud, and so you have to wait anyway. And so if you spend that time walking Cloud over just a little bit, you save frames on the next part of the cutscene. So that's just the tiniest little thing. And then at this point, this is one of the bigger bathroom breaks in the game. When they say Cloud hyphen exclamation point, that's the last text box. So here, you know, you're mashing. You've been mashing for the last 15 minutes, and then this text box right here. You can go hands-free right after that text box, and go you know, rest your hands, take a bathroom break, what need you. Here's this part. All right, and then we get into the Junon Escape. So the first thing is this part. I actually didn't mention this part is also a nice rest on the hands. All of that text that didn't have the blue text boxes is auto advance, so you can rest your hands there and then start mashing at the about him. And what I do here is I mash until Tifa starts auto walking, and then you can buffer up and run. But here, like, she stands up, but she has a little bit more text, so it's mashing all the way until she starts actually auto walking, and then buffer up. You know, you can just buffer up and run to get yourself up to Barret. Press right if you want to look out the window. Doesn't make a difference, but you know, it looks good. Hello. Hello. And then, once you get to this scene, you can start buffering up and mashing circle, because the next thing is to talk to Barret. And there we go. So now this part has some tricks to it. This part, you know, we just went through a lot of cutscenes, and this part seems like it's just going to be more cutscenes, but there's actually some tricks to this part that are very fun. So, first of all, we got a little bit more mashing here, but starting on the next screen, we've got some tips. So, right now, even though we were just controlling Tifa, we're actually controlling Barret now. and we can get in front of Tifa and exit the room. Like, basically, they're trying to lead us to this door right here, and it is slow to stay behind them, but we can use the corner to slip past them. So what I do is buffer down left and run, and the moment that the door closes, we get control of Barret. And you see he starts bonking. But the down left is just perfect. It's basically automatic. Right when this happens, the down left will sneak around this corner. It gets in front of Tifa and the guard, and then you go down right here. All right? So very simple to sneak in front of them. The next one's just a little tighter, though. So once you go in this screen, start buffering down and right, because now you want to... All of this talk that I do about cutting corners and grinding into railings, this is very important. So you buffer down and right into this room. That starts grinding Barret against this railing. And we need to cut these corners, and we can sneak just in front of Tifa here. If we go boom, boom, just like that. Otherwise, you get stuck behind Tifa, and you have to wait for her to slowly walk down the stairs. So there you go. There's how you do that part just a little bit faster. This part I use down right to get around the guard and then around Tifa. And then here, same thing. You want to go down right just a little bit to get around them instead of behind them. So there you go. On each one of those screens, you can do them a little bit faster. So then now, this is why we set A to be active before, by the way. The reason that we went to A to be active after doing the third whirlwind, you know, we kept it on wait in case we got caught. But then we set it to active afterward, is for this fight. And the fights afterward as well, but, you know, that's the first one. So that fight with Kate and Barret, just run away from it. It's kind of funny that you can run away from that fight, since it's a scripted encounter. But you can run from it even though it's scripted. And then for this part, just buffer right, and then come down and hit circle on the door. Now, we are getting into the FMV skip. So this part is quite funny as well. Yeah, this is a really funny skip that's actually going to come back into play a bit later for something else as well. We've got an FMV of the cannon firing. All right. So here's where it's time to really pay attention. So, cannon fires. Then you get this scene, then this scene, then this scene, then this scene, and then this scene. Alarm goes off, they talk to each other for a minute, and then there's this whole FMV of Sapphire Weapon coming up here. They're all shooting at it. Sapphire Weapon swims forward. It's all super cool. You know, he crashes into they shoot missiles at him. He crashes into Junon. This is like a minute and a half of cutscenes here. But check this out. So this is right after the cannon shot and the ripple wave came out. Then it's this part. And then it's this part. And then it's this part. And at this point, anytime during this scene, just before the next transition, start holding down and run. And here is why. Remember how this was the scene before where we came from the door to the right and we were controlling Barret? And we had to go down left around the corner and into this door? So we are still controlling Barret on this scene. Except he's just invisible. And this is real. What I'm telling you right now is real. We are currently controlling an invisible Barret on this screen. And so if we are running down, what we need to do is I don't know exactly where he starts. It's over here somewhere, though. And so we need to start by running only down. And then you see this stripey thing here? We need to get into this doorway with our invisible Barret, and that will leave the room and end the entire cutscene sequence. And so what I do is I hold just down and run until this stripey bit is halfway off the bottom of the screen, and then I just add left. So it's down and run until right here, right here, at which point I add left. And then it's just down and left, and look at that, we left the room. And now we're here again. Remember this room, which is where we were last time? We just left, and we skipped that like minute and a half of extra cutscenes. So once again, that is scene 1 of the thing firing, and then we get one shot of soldiers, second shot of soldiers. It doesn't matter when you start holding down and run, as long as it's, you know, as you load into this scene. So down and run, and then boom, add left, and there we go. And at that point, you can buffer down and right and do the movement on these screens just like you did before. Now, there's one thing to note about doing this skip, is that this screen is live. So you might get an encounter. In order to, like, close the time loop here, because now there's 2 Barrets, right? Barret is currently pulling on the door. You know, he's pulling on the door for the gas chamber for Tifa, and he's up here. And so if we try to leave right now, the game moment hasn't advanced far enough, and the game won't know to advance the plot if we just leave right now. We have to close the time loop first. So we got to run straight down and reconverge our Barrets into right here. So now that we have entered this room, the game's like, yeah, this is where you're at. Okay, and so now we continue. If you didn't skip the cutscenes, you would just load back into this room. But just remember that the previous screen is live. You might get a battle on it. But then I just go up into up left, talk to Kate. And now it is time to escape. Go straight up. And straight up here. Alright, and so the way that we have to go now is to the right and down. There's one battle, just run away. Buffer where you were running, and then here you can just keep buffering down and run because Barret auto runs to the left here, and then down and run sends you down. Right here you get stopped for a cutscene, and best line in the game alert. This guy comes up here. Whoa. Best line in the game. Damn, man. And then just run down. Switch to running up, though, because the next screen is this screen. And now, fun thing here, the moment that you hit this switch to go up on the elevator, during the FMV sequence, the screen is no longer live. So in order to save steps, run straight to it, and hit it as early... Well, we're going to get a battle first. Run straight to it, hit the switch as early as possible, and then while the FMV sequence is playing out, hold upright and run all the way into the corner of the elevator. So up here, hit the button, and then now the screen is no longer live, so I just buffer up, right, and run all the way until I see Barret bonk like that. So, like, Barret's not moving anymore, even though I was holding up and right. So that means you can switch to just right at that point. Because now you're up in the corner of the elevator, as far as possible while the screen wasn't live. And then now that you're in that corner, switch to just right, and that will exit the room. And then it's just more cutscenes. For a second. It's cutscenes for a moment. And now we get to this part. This part is a little finicky. Sometimes it'll do things that, like, tell you that you're doing it wrong. Don't panic. It's very easy to do. So the first thing that you have to do here, let's make a save state here. First thing that you have to do is go X for legs, and then X for legs again. She gets the key in her feet, and then you have to press triangle to go up, to sit back up with the head, and then you have to hit head and legs at the same time. And that puts the key in her mouth. Then you have to hit head and either left arm or right arm at the same time. Now, she struggled once, but just keep it held down so that then she'll do it the next time. And then that puts the key into her hand, whichever, it puts the key into the hand that you pressed, whether that was right or left, with square or circle. And then whichever key you put hand you put the key into, use that hand then again to free the other hand, and then you're done. So you can actually do it with holding pretty easily. So I hold X all the way until I see the second animation start, and then I start holding triangle until I see her start to sit up. Then I start holding X and triangle until I see her start to do that. Then I hold triangle and circle until I see her actually do that animation, and then switch to just holding circle. So there are certain struggles that happen in there, and maybe I could learn to do it smoother. Like, maybe I could figure out a way to get that to not happen. But this is just how I do it right now. Hold X until she makes the kick outward, then start holding triangle. Right when she starts that, start holding triangle and X. Then start holding triangle and circle. Then start holding just circle. I think what's happening is there are buffers happening that are incorrect, and that's why she's struggling a little bit. But, you know, that's how we do it. And then, okay, there's something that I think I'm the only person who complains about this, but the other side of this door is the room that Barret and Kate were in. And in that room, up goes up right. That's one of those angled D-pad rooms. And this room has the same isometric perspective and is neighboring that room. So I would expect this room to have the same D-pad orientation, but it doesn't. This room is a straight, the plus sign, the cardinal orientation. And so what we have to do after Tifa gets up, she has one text box, and then we have to press the button over here and then yank on the door. So she gets up, she says one thing, press the button, and then come over here, yank on the door. That then begins the next FMV here. Get a little bit more cutscene, and then on this part, you can buffer just down, left, and run like the entire time as she goes down here. So I just buffer down, or down, left, and run until she's on this part. Then I just buffer down and run. The climbing is easy and automatic. And then when Tifa falls here, we're going to go to the next scene, which is a run up. So right when she falls, I switch to run up. And then I give it a little bit of up and right to line her up with. You see this little like notch right here on the thing? I just line her up with that kind of, and then just go straight forward from there. And then once we're in the next scene, we got to bring her down to the last of these. So once you're about here, up left, and then just straight forward. And then she'll kind of auto slide into the middle, you know. No big deal. Nothing too tough. All right, so now we get to the slap fight. The slap fight is actually faster to lose most of the time, right? So you hit circle here, and Tifa slaps back. The fastest thing to do here is just to get slapped, right? Because Scarlet slaps you with maximum slappage each time until Tifa's down, and that ends the fight in as few slaps as possible. Me, though, I like to have a little bit of fun, and, you know, I don't want to let Tifa just get the shit slapped out of her, so I hold circle, teach Scarlet a lesson, and then after that, we just have some dialogue. At this point, right when this door closes is when you have control. So when Barret starts running, I start buffering down and left, and I just switch to left once she's lined up. Switch to down and left, into down on the staircase, into down right, around the corner. And now this part's got a few visual cues as far as when to do what. So you run straight right, and you get yourself into a cutscene. This cutscene, you go until Red runs over and says a thing, and when he runs back, Tifa says, "Not enough crew," that's the last line. At this point, you want to talk to Red. So after you clear this text box, you can actually talk to him from the stairs. I just run right here and talk to him. And then the next visual cue to look for is that Red will turn towards the camera and shake his head, at which point you want to talk to the pilot and not Sid. So a little bit of conversation, Red turns to the camera, then he shakes his head, that's when you're about to get control. So then at this point, if you talk to Sid, he talks to you for like a minute and a half. Do not talk to Sid here, talk to the pilot. Sid talks to you when you talk to the pilot, but talk to the pilot. And then when he says the word operation, that's the last text box. So I don't really mash here. I kind of do more careful circle presses. So that I don't accidentally talk to the pilot again or talk to Sid. And while buffering down, you know, just do a single clear there. and we're good. So at this point, we need to run down and out and put our party together in the operation room, which is right here. So just buffer up left and mash circle to get to this guy real quickly. And then at this point, just take Red and Kate. Run down and out and back to the pilot, and it is time to fly the Highwind. Okay, so funny thing about the Highwind is anybody familiar with like Doom or Quake are very familiar with the non-Pythagoras theorem version of moving diagonally, which is that if you are holding square while you pilot the Highwind has this whole, you can turn, pressing circle drives you forward, but if you hold square, then you just move in the direction you're pressing the D-pad, and this actually gives you full speed in both cardinal directions if you go diagonally. And so going diagonally in the Highwind is very good. So from where you spawn originally in the Highwind, you just go, just hold square and go backwards, down, and right. And this diagonal movement is faster than not doing that. So, and let's time it, So there's two reasons that diagonal is faster. One reason is because of what I said about the Doom and Quake thing. But then also it's because you don't have to turn the Highwind around. But let's say even if your Highwind was already turned the right direction, let's time this here. You're going, you're already facing the correct direction, and that was about the right amount of time. The 12, I hit X to try to land, and then I was going to time it with landing. But, give or take 12 seconds here, right? Okay? But then, diagonal movement, even with it getting stuck right there as it loads the region, we got here much quicker, as you can see. Even when it took me a moment to land the Highwind there, we were still a couple seconds faster. So there you go. Diagonal movement whenever possible is good. When you're in the Highwind when you're holding square. All right. So the first thing we do though is we go southeast down to Mideel, and we run into Mideel. All right. So this place has the angled D-pad orientation. The first thing we're going to do here is get the curse ring. And so in order to get the curse ring, what you have to do is go straight into this shop right here and knock on the door in the back. So you go to the door in the back, you knock on it. She says, wonder if it's locked, and then you leave. Buffer down right out of the room. And whip around to the left onto the stairs. So the reason you have to do that first is because if you haven't seen that door yet, then you can't get this key. But after you've knocked on the door and said, I wonder if it's locked, now you can hit circle over here. You get the beat up useless old key. Run back here. And back in here. And now go back to the room, or back to the door, and start mashing circle on it. Now this is very, very, very important, this selection coming up. The key breaks. She says it broke. He says there's something wrong. Pay attention. After she says, what am I gonna do? You have to pick the second option. So it's, oh no, what am I gonna do? Second option, tell the truth. And at this point, he gives you the curse ring for free for telling the truth. And so just mash until the camera starts to go back to Tifa, and at that point, buffer down left to get out of the store. So, camera movement, that buffers your movement. Then buffer down and right, and go, or down and right again, but switch to right to go down the stairs. And we need to go to this shop right here. Alright, so this shop is one of those weird ones again, where if you run straight up, you might not be in range to talk to her. So I run straight up and then release X before hitting circle so that Tifa walks forward a little bit. That way you know that you're in range. And then this shop is exactly why I suggested earlier that you arrange your items by type. Because at this point, your goal is to sell everything. The only equipment that you need is the curse ring and the wizard bracelet. Everything else that you need equipment-wise is already equipped. So you can sell everything except for the curse ring and the wizard bracelet. Now, there is one other... and if you arrange by type, you can R1 down, and everything is very neatly laid out for you to sell. One small adjustment about this is that I made this money route before... Like, the money route of... You know how when we bought the Fury Ring, we basically had, like, no money left over? That was, like, the start of the route that now makes it so that we have the right amount of money if we sell all the stuff here. However, I originally made that route before Fury Ring, so it used to be a thing where we spent more money in Rocket Town and then had no money, and then we went to 0 money at Coral, and then didn't buy the Fury Ring, and then went on our merry way, right? And then at this point, we sold everything, and it was great. This time, we did basically the same thing, except we have the Fury Ring. So if you want to stay right on the money route that I'm on, also don't sell the Fury Ring. So yeah, you can just sell all the other equipment. And that's that. Just keep the Wizard Bracelet, Fury Ring, and Curse Ring. And so, what that does is that gives you the perfect amount of money to now come back here and buy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 enemy pluses, or HP pluses, 6 HP pluses, go down and buy Destruct, and you should have between 4,000 and 4,399 Jill, which is the perfect amount to do Fort Condor with. Because the mechanics of Fort Condor, we'll explain in a minute, is it's best to have between that amount of money. Now, if you are not on a money route, or you want some extra money at this point, you can go ahead and sell the Fury Ring. And if you do, the benefit of doing that, the benefit of having some extra money, is that if you would like, you can now come down here and pop into this shop right here and prepare yourself for the rest of the run. So I used to go to this shop right here, and then you can buy high potions and Phoenix Downs to get yourself down to, again, the lowest you can possibly have for the next part is exactly 4,000. The highest you can have is 4,399. And these 300 Jill items are very convenient for getting yourself down to that much money, you know? Like, if I had sold the Fury Ring, or I just have extra money at this point, you know, then, I've got 66,000, I would just, like, buy a couple of these, and buy these, until, boom, there we go, we've got the right amount of money. So, that's a backup you can do. Get yourself some extra high potions, some extra Phoenix Downs for the rest of the game. Otherwise, if you are on my route, or, like, if you've been following the route exactly, and you made it so that when you bought the Fury Ring, you got down to as little money as possible. That will make it so that if you sell everything except for the Curse Ring, Wizard Bracelet, and Fury Ring, you buy 6 HP pluses, and then and Destruct, you'll have just the right amount of money here. And then you can come out here and run straight over here to the dog. In order to, just like running up to the dog is what cues the next cutscene, where our boy shows up for the first time. There he is. There's our boy. It's the Doc. Then the game gets a little X-rated for a second as everybody leaves the room with just Tifa and Cloud here. We dim the lights, get a little mood lighting going, and then I can't speak of what happens next. After these cutscenes, basically what happens after just a whole bunch of dialogue here, we get just Sid as our party leader. So it's just some mashing until that happens.